The Daily Graphic this morning says Evangeline Awa wins junior graphic essay competition set to visit the UN headquarters. Also, Asante Hima marks 5th anniversary of installment. Ghana, 2 others firm up vaccine plant and set up database on state landed properties. Committee advises sector ministry. What's on the back page? Valco Fund partners provide classrooms for 17 schools. The Ghanaian Times this morning says 2020 Comprehensive Food Security and Vulnerability Analysis, 3.6 million people face hunger, $103 million, landscaping small-scale mining project launched, and Deputy Speaker can vote when presiding, the Attorney General has told the Supreme Court. Also, Abronya DC has been granted 100,000 Ghana cedis bail for alleged publication of false news. On the back page, Bono Regional NHIS exceeds WHO's membership target, and President makes case for persons living with disability on inclusive education. The Daily Guide. Deputy speakers can vote. That's Joe Asewusu there with Andrew Amwako Esiama, popularly known as MP Fomina. E-Levy will retain MPP, says Ben Efson. Good morning to you, Senior Blobby. And Abronya DC granted 100,000 bail. Also, finest pub and restaurant commends government. The Business Finder says NSS implements deployment for employment policy. Vaccine production. Ghana others join forces with German firm. Government will address drainage challenges. The BNFT is our final one for this morning. $103.4 million landscape restoration project launched. Ghana hangs hope on European Union to curb illegal fishing. Ghana Stock Exchange targets 50% liquidity on equity market in 5 years and adopt simpler rules of foreign of origin to enhance trade flow, according to the World Bank. My guest this morning is Mrs. Joyce Bawa-Mokhtari. She's a special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama and also a former Deputy Minister of Transport. And also joining her is a National Executive hopeful of the New Patriotic Party. Elena Wadeku is here with us. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. Good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning.
How's it going on the ground for you?
For me, it's good. I think I'm bringing in something new. I'm bringing in a lot of excitement. And with politics, you need to have something to offer. And I believe I have quite a lot to offer.
I see.
And so I'm just letting our women know what I have to offer. And hopefully, in July, they would vote for me.
They say you can't win.
Who said
Your
I
competitors. They say you no get kappa.
Well, everybody when you're starting something, you get people. You don't expect my competitors to say I'll win, do you? So that's one of it. It's all part of putting yourself out there and letting your party or people know what you can do. And I believe people or the party is such that when they do believe you and they do believe you can do the work, they will do for you.
What is that one single thing you want to do for the women of Ghana, particularly the women of your party?
The very, very, very one thing I would love to do when I'm voted for is to provide a voice, advocacy. I believe the women of the NPP have lost that in the past few years. So a voice and advocacy, an advocate for everything positive that women should get. Of course, when the women in the NPP do get it, it will get over to the rest of the women in Ghana. And for me, the advocacy thing is extremely important.
I see.
Yeah.
Joyce, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I know that you are going for a funeral this morning. You're bereaved.
Yes.
We all are.
You are.
Yes,
I am.
But you're going there too.
Yes.
I will not be there, but my condolences to my classmates and my senior, Maureen Ativo, and her sister.
Right.
We're all in St. Rose's the same year. And
okay.
I really do understand what you're going through. Yeah. It's tough. Really tough.
And you know, I work very closely with her.
I do.
Yes, she was actually my former boss. And before that, even she was a deputy minister when I was actually director.
Okay.
When she first arrived at the ministry. So I've actually known her for quite some time. And I think that this morning, all of us, not just people from her family who we all commiserate with, but of course, her extended family in terms of her relations and the whole of the Volta region, and particularly the National Democratic Congress. I believe that this morning we'll all go there to bid her farewell and continue to pray for her soul and, of course, for her children as they go through this very, very difficult process. Auntie Jifa was a fantastic human being, dedicated to her work, very committed. She loved Ghana. She was passionate about anything to do with women and children. And above all, she loved the National Democratic Congress. So I believe that this morning, all of us are totally, totally, totally devastated. And you know that even for most people, they actually didn't even know that she had been unwell for quite some time.
Right.
And so when the news about her passing actually was announced, people were particularly very, very shocked. So we would want to ask the good Lord to grant her safe passage, receive her soul, and continue to pray that we will support her children as they go through this. President Mahama is supposed to be at the funeral this morning, and then on Saturday, when she will finally be laid to rest, we'll be joining her family in Abutia 30 in the Volta region. So may her soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen. May the soul of Madame Jifa Aku Ativo rest in perfect peace, and deepest condolences to her family and Egypt, who worked closely with her as well.
And he was at the forecourt all of last night.
Yes, hardworking gentleman.
Oh, fantastic. Very loyal. And I always say, everybody needs an Egypt in their lives, one way or the other. So, Amma, hopefully you will find
an Egypt to support you.
I hope so. But
you have an Egypt already?
I have a few.
Okay.
A few good ones.
Let's see. Amma, you've paid 2 months of the NABCO beneficiaries, what do you call the allowances for September and October. That's the part that ended the 36 months. Now, you ask them to stay on from October, November, December, January, February, and they have not been paid. They say they want their monies. One, they want the permanent jobs that you promised them, and then they also want you to make their lives better, as you promised them. So they are hitting the streets this morning. Bella is with them. What do you say?
Good morning to you, and good morning to all our viewers watching us all over Ghana. And let me also take the opportunity and wish Professor Dr. Obo a happy birthday, happy 70th. Right. He's a personal friend of my parents. So,
okay.
You know, he's a 7-day Adventist, and I do come from that background.
Okay.
So a happy birthday to him.
70 today.
Yes. Yes, about the NABCO trainees, in quotes. I do believe that everybody has a right to protest if they are not happy with whatever is going on in their lives. So for them to hit the streets this morning is an exercise in their freedoms and in their right to protest. Now they have a few issues they want to drum home, and I believe it is in their rights and it's in their prerogative to do so. Definitely, I do sympathize a lot with them. It's a difficult period for everybody. It's a difficult period for everybody in the world. It's a difficult period for all of us in Ghana here. So their salaries or their allowances that haven't been paid for a while now, I do agree that it's not a funny business. But I believe the government and the NABCO secretariat have shown goodwill by listening to them. They are also going through a few challenges, and by paying up gradually, according to what I hear, they'll be paying them gradually as and when they do get the money. So yes, as much as they have a right to vent out, they also do have a right to their money. So I can assure them the government and the NABCO secretariat is working very hard to make sure that they are paid. Now, on the issue of them being...
Permanency.
Yes, permanency. I know it is a process. Some people have been kept on, and it is a gradual process. You're not going to have 100,000 people being employed at a go. It is a process. So they should have patience, I believe, when their salaries issue, allowances issues are sorted.
You like salaries, don't you?
Who doesn't like salaries? When the allowances issues are sorted out, the next thing will be to sort out their work, their permanent work status matter. But I also want them to remember, as they go ahead and do their protest, that this is a government that gave them an opportunity, that promised to bring down youth unemployment, and brought up the idea of NABCO to keep them active and to keep them up to speed with work experience and with everything. So as much as they are upset about what is going on, they should also remember that an opportunity had been given to them that they didn't have. So we need to find a middle ground And definitely finding the middle ground is that their arrears being paid up. And then those who can have permanent jobs will have permanent jobs.
Right.
They shouldn't also forget that government is also rolling up and has already done a few entrepreneurship, what do you call it? Entrepreneurship initiatives that some of them can definitely apply for. So those of them who really have the entrepreneurial spirit, I believe should take advantage of those ones. And as I said, I'll continue saying it's a gradual process. You will not have it all done at a go. The government is going through a lot of challenges which we have to be open and clear about. And the government, the president, everybody, the finance minister have all been open and clear about it. And definitely, they can go ahead with their protest. I believe government will take care of it. And I hope with this protest, they will send out a communique, because usually you have to write something down and send it to the Ministry of Employment.
Right.
And I believe they will work on it. So that is my basic take on them. Please, they should also keep it safe. COVID is still in the air. So as much as you are protesting against a few things, please be safe.
They say you have lied to them. You deceived them.
How?
The government deceived them. They promised them permanence.
That
they
is
told
a
them
very...
that. So, for example, they are told that those who don't turn up for work or to work will not be considered when there are spaces for employment. That's more like a prerequisite. But then they say, look, we don't have the wherewithal. We don't have money to be able to transport ourselves to and from work. We don't have what to eat. We depend on our families and our parents to take care of us. Somebody at 33, 35. So if you're using that as the basis to say when opportunities come up, you will not get it, and you have not given them their small allowances, how do they survive?
Before NABCO even came into being, we've had a lot of issues about youth unemployment. Some of us have gone through it before. And definitely, it is difficult showing up for work when you do not have the money, but you do show up. So for me, I feel if you're showing up for work or you're not showing up for work, is because you haven't been paid. That is the reason. And the question is, when you are picked up permanently and something happens and your salary is delayed or something happens, is that going to be your forever excuse of not showing up to work? There are certain things that we need to get done. Prerequisites for being employed exist in every organization. I believe if TV3, for some reason, haven't paid your salary for a month or two, and you decide not to show up for work, TV3 has a right, as much as they will pay you, they also have a right to ask you a few questions. So please, as much as they want their monies and they want everything done right by them, they should also do right by their organizations. I do agree that not having money to go to work is a tough thing, but you show up.
Is that not blackmail?
It's not blackmail. I mean, what if you want a job and you don't show up for work? How do you
But they've been showing up, and for example, Heal Ghana, they've been showing up for the last 9 months. They've only been giving 2 months.
That is what I
and
said.
That's after they screamed and screamed and screamed.
That is what I said after. I said before we got here that you have to show up for work if you want to be picked permanently. We all know what it takes to be an employee, and challenges will come. It's not just government, even private businesses do go through stresses. So when your company goes through stress and you still want to work with the company, you find ways and means of showing up. And then you have a bargaining power of telling them, when you were in distress, I was with you. So now that you are gradually getting out, you have to keep faith with me. But when you disappear or you show bad faith when your company is in distress, how then? And especially for young people who are now going to be employed permanently. I understand that it's a tough situation, but that should not be an excuse that you won't show up. So if they are paid a bit more, another 2 months, or negotiations go on and they are asked, we'll be paying you on these terms. Well, that means that they will not show.
But you're not giving them the terms.
It will come up. Don't worry.
Now
that is why they are also protesting.
They don't know.
So
that's
why are they then complaining about the permanency? You are still looking
because you made a promise to them. The president reiterated that promise last year in August 2021.
The president will keep it. Don't worry.
In your region.
It's a promise, yes. It's a promise-keeping president, so don't worry. He will do it. But the point is, and as I started off, I do agree that it's a tough situation. I do agree that government is going through a lot of financial stress. as citizens and as people who want to work with government, they also have to agree with us that the situation will be solved, but it takes time. So if you will not show up to work because you are in a tough situation, which I also agree it is tough. Your employer, somebody who is employing you for a permanent situation, definitely can also take that into consideration when he is. Well, if you don't show up and your colleague shows up, between the two of you, which one of you should be employed permanently?
I hear you. Joyce, NABCO is on the street.
Well, a very, very good morning to you. And sometimes, you know, you start to wonder just where you want to actually start from. And we all do
Start
know.
from the top.
Exactly. You know, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. And I sometimes sit back and I recollect very vividly conversations around unemployment and underemployment and all of these challenges that we are currently faced with. And I remember very, very well that we even had an Unemployed Graduates Association of Ghana that literally became like a pressure group and screaming themselves hoarse across the country.
They are no longer there.
I doubt what has happened to them. I'm not even certain that they even exist anymore. And of course, when we say that most of these so-called groups that emerged at the time were all offshoots of the then opposition led by Nana Akufo-Addo, people argue and debate all the time, but it is obvious and evident now that this is exactly what was going on. Look, I remember how the whole NABCO project was actually launched with pomp and pageantry, pretty much like the Kinky and Wache parties that were hosted after the Eurobond. I remember how they projected to receive how much, and the debate was at all, but I remember the Honorable Kojo Ponkrumah in particular telling us very boldly, what do you expect? At least they are out of home and getting 700 Ghana cedis a month. You know, we all have to start to have conversations. And I listened to the Honorable Minority Leader a few days ago when he spoke extensively about a government employment policy that he had started to work on when he was then Social Welfare and Employment Minister and was wondering what had become of that document, of that project. The fact that currently Africa has 60% of the world's young population is within itself a serious threat, not just to our democracy, but even to our peace and security. That in Ghana, the World Bank posits, and this was just a report that was actually put out in 2021, that we have people in the brackets of 15 to 24 years old, that up to 35.8% of them are currently either unemployed or underemployed. I think that the people in NABCO qualify as the underemployed. They are available and willing to work, but there are no job opportunities or economic opportunities. So they find themselves in all of these politically tailored vacancies that really have no way of being sustained. And
Government said they gave them opportunities to sharpen and hone their skills to get some more experience.
But we have so many skills training centers. We have some who even leave university with skills. And when you read the budget and economic policy statement that was actually presented by the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, he actually speaks to the fact that by 2030, Ghana alone would have to put at least 6 million of its youth into jobs. It paints a very, very bleak and precarious picture. It tells you that unemployment is now a serious security threat and actually threatens the peace of this country.
The government has acknowledged that in page 17 of the national security document.
Exactly.
The youth
But
bulge,
the question is
unemployment, blah, blah, blah.
What exactly is government intending to do about it? Are we going to continue throwing these short, monies at them? Are we going to continue creating this very partisan army of activists that we create these opportunities for? Are we seeking really to legitimize the illegal? Because what we are doing now is that we collect all of our so-called activists or foot soldiers, and when we come into government, we build these opportunities and build them in for them. Have you noticed the recent, certain appointments that are being made of very young people being placed in some strategic, very innocuous positions that sometimes you wonder what exactly are they going there to do?
Like what?
Recently, I saw a newspaper article, somebody who's just been appointed to the Flag Jubilee House to be in charge of something. I found it very strange.
Local government.
And something, a very, very weird
It's going
title.
to assist Mr. Danboche, Dennis Abaji.
Mr. Danboche, I'm sure, has even got personal assistants. He has consultants. Have you gone to the Ministry of Local Government? Please visit that ministry and see the number of technocrats walking the corridors in that ministry. You know, these are very superfluous appointments. Maybe it is to create a certain impression. Maybe it's just to create some youth in the, you know, points where people would start to think that, oh, something at least is being done. Look, we have to confront this matter head on. And I always tell you that even on a morning as somber as this, I think that one of the reasons why we are where we are is because, one, we just have not taken the blueprint that we required as a people. Imagine how Ghana would have looked if we had followed through with the World Bank's own finding at the time that we needed to actually close our infrastructure deficit. What infrastructure does is that it creates a certain logistics chain. Along that logistics chain also is that some jobs will definitely emanate. And so once these jobs are being created, people would always find a way to engage. It might not necessarily be the job opportunity that you seek or that you're looking for, but at least you will have something to do. What we now have is a certain curve that actually only favors those who are known to the ruling government, not necessarily for everybody.
The government says, look, I'm setting up the youth bank, I'm trying to do e-levy so that jobs can be created for young people. Support them.
These are all future projections. None of them is actually even in the offing or in the pipeline. Secondly, ask yourself, how many of these interventions have been sustained ever since they started? Then thirdly, ask yourself, how do we intend to remunerate all these groups? And remember, that bank rationalization that led to many of these microfinance institutions. Look, Dr. Parkway Sindum's bank in particular had branches at least in all the 275 constituencies of this country. Please drive around Ghana. See what has become of those cute brick, distinctively unique buildings across the country. At least in his case, we must be honest that he was trying to create jobs where none existed, to create opportunities in places that most investors would never go to. I come from a very rural community. I know what those interventions did for people. Have you ever thought what happened to all the Susu people you used to see in Makola, collecting the little monies every week and going and depositing in some of these microfinance institutions? Look, all of those people have been rendered jobless. Think about the quantum of resources that we used even to collapse those banks. Imagine what that money could have done, even to at least prop up some of the ones that were at least working responsibly.
The government makes the argument that they saved depositors' money.
Do you know
which
that
could have
indeed
gone down the drain?
All the ones who invested in, which one was it that was in East Legon?
Men's Gold.
Men's Gold. Some of those in Beige Capital, that most of them have received no monies from government or from CBG for that matter. Please open your phone lines and find out how many people have till date received those monies that got locked up. You know, it's a very, very sad development that we allow young people to come out totally hopeless, where there's very little or no opportunity even to start up, let alone to grow. I suspect that if we ended all of the resources that are currently being thrown down the drain, 12 billion is what the Auditor General reports. And these are usually conservative figures because the reality could be more and higher. Who has been surcharged with these losses?
The government says it is recoverable.
That's the word. What have they done? What steps has government taken so far, even to recover these funds that have been stolen, that have been wasted through various procurement breaches and processes? We remember what happened at the Procurement Authority. Remember what happened at the Youth Employment Agency. All of those monies, has government tried to recover these monies?
How do we turn things around?
I think that yesterday, for example, I listened to a very interesting analysis by Bernard Avle discussing some of the things that he believes government should currently be doing. And sometimes we should be very objective about these things and try and seek opinions even from the uninitiated. You know, ideas are not anybody's purview or would not be a repository for everybody, but at least if you share them, if you talk to other people. First, I recall that we used to have people in this country, young people, who were going around, for example, and collecting house numbers. The idea was to build databases so we could at least start to collect. And this was actually an initiative by AMA for property taxes in particular. Currently, property taxes are still about 8% for residential. Have you seen the number of empty bungalows and houses sitting across the length and breadth of this country? If people were paying proper taxes on these properties, they wouldn't leave them empty. How many people pay withholding tax when they go out there and rent somebody's house and pay advance for either 6 months or even for 2 years? These are places where you could get young people, sharp people. Look, I have a young man who has a master's in research. You should see the sort of information he sends to me. All you have to do is ask, and he will send you a whole list of things you probably never even thought about. This is a bright young man who's been out of university now for 4 years.
No job.
No job. How much can someone like me even pay him to do the work that he does for me? You know, everywhere in this world, research is a key component of employment because you need many young people. They can sit behind their desks. They don't even have to be in offices. Secondly, all the individuals whose contracts we extend, why are we extending them? Is it because we can't find people to replace them? Is it because there are no people looking for jobs? The civil service used to be a training ground for graduates. Nestle, all of these multinationals used to have hundreds of young people. All of those businesses are collapsing. Have you tried to look for products from Nestle on the shelves in the shops recently? Have you heard the complaints about the reversal of the benchmark values and how it is actually affecting manufacturing? Have you gone around to find out how much companies like Georg that used to employ many young people, and this morning may I salute Madame Sheriaiti, who was one of the individuals who set Georg up to the company that it has become.
Salute Mr. Kofi Jumatu.
Perfect, who's been there in recent times. And I know what he's been doing also to improve on employment for young people. Look, most of these factories, if they were working effectively, if government would create an enabling environment for them beyond what they have, if they could get facilities from the banks. Look, yesterday a very interesting pastor had a conversation with me about a young man who had invested extensively in a region not in Greater Accra or in the Ashanti region, and said that he owes a bank about 50 million Ghana cedis. Then he asked me, why would government not give money to an individual like this, from this small community with such a huge investment, with prospects for the future? Why would government not help him with this loan at even say 5% and have him employ more people, have him create more opportunities for people? You know, there's a trickle-down effect. If we don't start to think outside the box, very soon, the young people will come for the few of us who even appear to be gainfully employed.
Okay.
Not everybody can be an entrepreneur.
I hear you.
And not everybody can start a business. And not everybody can be partisan enough to end up in a government small opportunity. In any case, go there and check. Even for most of those young people who are there, how many of them even see anything that will better their future?
I hear
and
you.
if government loses today, they are totally out of it.
I hear you. Amma, how do we turn the situation around? We acknowledge that there's a problem. And obviously, it looks like these quick fixes will not cut it for us. People are looking for a more sustainable way to survive and thrive. How do we turn things around? I know that government, for example, is focusing on one district, one factory, and all of those ones. But we want something solid. What's the plan?
The plan is that we need to industrialize. And that is it. That is the basic thing. We need to industrialize. We need to get ourselves ready to use made in Ghana goods. Let me use a typical example of a one district, one factory initiative. The tomato factory at in my region.
Okay.
No, Bono.
Okay.
One.
That's right.
I think it's called Sweet Mama tomato paste. I think we need to start advertising things like this. I think it is imperative on the owners and the managers of the company to do it. But all of us must also get involved. So for me personally, what I do is when I go out and I want to shop for tin tomatoes and this, I actually do look out
or local produce
for Sweet Mama.
Okay.
And for some, I've been able to get some in the some shops in Accra. The challenge is to get them to also, come onto the market like everybody else. Now I've seen that Kumfi juice is now on the shelves if you enter some of the supermarkets. And I hear they are now also hitting with the West African sub-region. They are in Ivory Coast now through after. So it is a matter of us encouraging our industries to work. And how do these industries even start up? They start up with the young ones, with the young industries, with the young people who want to do it. Yes, it's not everybody who can be entrepreneur. In fact, after being in the entrepreneurial journey for a while, a lot of your businesses will fail. Okay. Those are things we have to teach these young people. Okay. And we have to make allowances for those who actually pick these initiatives, the loans, and understand that it will fail. And if it fails, we have to have a big enough, our purse should be solid enough to absorb all the failures. And so it is a journey we have to start.
Your government is a capitalist government. Can there be any meaningful capitalism without capital? Because
of course
the key thing is that they are looking for, yes.
I'm not even talking about.
So they are looking for capital, and they can't find them. The banks, for example, do not even understand.
Don't even invest in startups, no.
That is why I am still advocating that any young person who wants to actually go into this journey to understand that one, you might win, you might lose, you might fail, you might succeed. Get that in your head, and then start targeting these government initiatives that are at almost zero interest rates. I know it is difficult, and Auntie does not agree with me on the point that she believes it's for government people who are connected to government. But there are a lot of ordinary Ghanaians who are not in any of the political parties who do enjoy from these things. I believe that these agencies have to actually keep an active eye on the people they give these monies to. And they're not just keeping an eye on them, publicize them. Let us all know that NEIP gave
sector by
sector, we gave these people money. Now, out of the 50, 70, 100, 200 that we give, 70 are surviving. Out of the 70 surviving companies, 10 are in the energy industry, 20 are in agric. Give us where we can find them, because that makes it all accountable to all of us.
You're suggesting that all this while we've just been throwing money at people and not looking at the feedback. That is what I feel is going on. I know it's a tough job, but then that is why we also have the BACs at the district assembly level, the business advisory. I forgot centers. Yes. And it's under the Ministry of Trade, and it is in almost every district of this country. Right. They also need to up their game. They need to let people know the things are there, the initiatives are there, but getting them to the right people who need it is the problem. I think the linkages are the issues now. So I'm looking at John Kuma's. I say John Kuma. He's no longer there. NEIP.
Yes, Kofi Ofosun.
Kofi Ofosun. NEIP, for example. People go to NEIP to go and collect money for a presidential pitch, right?
Yes.
Then the same people will come to Maslock. The same people will come, so people become career collectors of government funds.
And we never ask.
And we are not tracking who. So Ama goes to NEIP, collects, goes to Maslock, collects, same proposal, because once they get endorsement from NEIP, they know that, then Maslock will buy into it. They take the proposal to Maslock picks. So they pick money from here, there, 6 sources, 1 person.
That is why.
And we don't track. We just.
I think that
allow Joy, allow Amma to wrap up.
That is why I believe the issues about the digitalization, getting our Ghana card ready, getting it all linked up, it's imperative. Because if we are all linked up to one big database, All that NEIP have to do after giving you the money is to just update the database. And Maslow will know when they type in your Ghana card number that you've gone for some money from NEIP. All the other agencies, because we are all on the same big database, they will know. So for me, this whole matter of all of us getting our Ghana card and making sure that we are all entered into one huge database, it will cut out a lot of all these. Do I call it fraud? I don't think I should call it fraud. Because some of the people...
Let's consult the lawyer.
Some of the people also do pick these monies from all these agencies, and they actually use it. So the onus is on these agencies to let us know who they are, what they have done. Something like the presidential pitch that started, I think, in 2017. It's been how many years now? How many successful stories do we still have? It's something that I believe NEIP, free consultation, please. NEIP, Brakofi, get those things together. Let us air them. Let us let the people know that these are the people that Ghanaians' taxpayers' monies were given to them. And these are the successful stories. Let us also know the failure stories, because it is all part of life. When we do this, I think a lot of people will be encouraged to get in there, because people
do you honestly
actually
believe
feel
that the government would tell us those who failed, got money and failed?
Why not? If you pick our money for you to do a job, and for some reason you feel, you have to tell us so that we know, so that the next person who is also coming will not go through the same line.
Will you publish that?
Why not? I mean, it's a job of what is their name? Is it the Auditor General? They have all those reports. I don't see why we do not want to acknowledge failures as part of life. They are.
Okay.
Just as much as we enjoy the successes. Definitely, there are some people who have succeeded, and they will continue to succeed. And there are some people who will fail. We have to learn from these failures. But these interventions, for me, are one of the best things that we can do. We just have to monitor. We just have to continue giving them the services they need to get them to thrive. Because if even 20 of these agencies, or these what do we call them? Little business become big industries. And we have 20 of such industries that are even exporting tin tomatoes, fruit juice, everything out of Ghana, like how we import the South African ones.
Right.
Do you understand what that means? We continuously give jobs to people outside Ghana. As much as I believe that the trade rules I don't know much about them, but I think we should also make the effort.
Okay. I hear you. Choice.
Stop
talking for me. Let's switch.
I would totally not be convinced by Ama's arguments.
Why
Johnny,
not?
I have this very strong feeling that the only trajectory that will take us out of this current predicament is to revisit all of the pseudo-collapsed industries, manufacturing companies, to revisit the subject of imports of all the items that we can hitherto produce and manufacture here in Ghana. The quotas that we are currently allowing in terms of rice, in terms of sugar, in terms of vegetable oil, it is part of the reason why we cannot create jobs for our young people. I'm happy that Ahmad, deliberately went into the juice that I believe...
Coffee.
Excellent. What happened to Blue Skies? Have you followed up on what has happened? Have you followed up on what has happened to Golden Exotics? I remember then as a private legal practitioner when we established Golden Exotics, and I know why they chose Ghana and even left Ivory Coast to come and settle here. What has become of those companies? What has become of the Ghana can pineapple that we all knew growing up? What has become of all the Nkulenu juices that they used to make? I think sometimes putting these conversations into a certain historical perspective will give us a very clear picture.
Why did they fail?
They failed because of lack of resources, one, lack of markets. I have a friend of mine who is one of the foremost development experts. He chose to go into poultry farming. To hear his story will break your heart. He's just like any one of us, with no government funding or anything. Each year he invested almost 500,000 Ghana cedis. Guess what? He can't even find markets. I've just come back from a school engagement, a classmate of mine who started a poultry farm. Now, currently, what is she doing? She's literally grilling the chicken because nobody is buying whole chicken to go and eat. What is the reason? Economic hardships. Few people in Ghana will go out and buy a crate of eggs just to go and put in their homes and eat as a luxury or as a protein, whatever. I heard His Excellency the President a few days ago talking about fisheries and how we were spending $200 million to import fish. Ghana is blessed to have a long coastline, one that is fertile, not just for oil and gas, but also for fish. What has happened to the fish stock? It is all about climatic conditions. And of course, the fact that we are dumping in our waters.
But we've been doing close season, and we're told that will bring back the fishes.
Pollution is one of the main reasons why fish stock depletes over time. You can check from the research reports of the Seabed Authority.
So close season would do nothing?
If there's fish stock are not there, what will close season do? My brother is a fish farmer and had a huge tilapia farm. We have Chinese imports competing with that business. What has government done about that? We still have the trawlers dumping all the wastes and destroying what is under the seabed.
Fishing as well.
Absolutely. Who is talking about all these things? We know what the problems are. Remember that even the Coast Guard is a huge employment opportunity for young people.
Are they still there?
Good question you're asking. You remember the marine unit that was set up also to patrol the waters? What happened to the protection of the free economic zone or the exclusive economic zones? We don't hear these conversations anymore. So definitely, everything that the previous government started and hoped that it would actually create some sustainable economic opportunities has, for one reason or the other, completely been abandoned.
Is it because we don't have a clear-cut policy direction for them, printed, endorsed by Parliament, for example, so that the next government comes, this is the blueprint that we're running with?
For the few years that I've spent in government and making comparisons between what happens in government and what happens in private or public sector, I've come to one conclusion.
Which is?
Which is that we simply don't like continuity. We like to parabolate about democracy and what it means. But democracy also means that when taxpayers' monies are used to invest in projects, such as we have the rice mills in Tamale, that is currently grown bush all around. Go out there and check. Go and check on what has happened to the Kalugu tomato factory. Go and find out what has happened to the oil palm factories across the country. When my father, many years ago, was a trade minister in Ghana, they started a milk production thing somewhere in the Volta region, I think close to Juapon, thereabouts. Go and find out what has happened to that facility. This was something I even stumbled upon once when I was looking for some information from the archives.
Okay.
A lot of efforts have been made for many, many years. Whatever GPS, Ghana,
Poverty
Reduction Strategy 1 and 2 and 3, all of them have taken us nowhere. Let's come back home. Let's try. These monies we are throwing at Maslock, throwing at all these national youth, whatever's, monies that nobody accounts for. In fact, most of the waste that we are talking about in the corruption is in these small, so-called intervening opportunities that we give to people. The money goes to waste. Why don't we, like that pastor said to me yesterday, give these monies to these industries that are failing? Why don't we get the Juapon textiles to manufacture the fabric for school uniforms like they used to do? The shoes for school children.
Okay.
You know, we have young people, great examples like Horseman Shoes and others. They have benefited enormously from interventions and they are doing well. Look, let's cut the imports too. Amma is talking about what tomato. I don't even know which one is which. We are importing onions even from Burkina Faso.
Well, the president will disagree with you. In the last State of the Nation address, he said that we are a net exporter of food and that tomatoes, onions...
You read something earlier about the fact that there are prospects of a famine, of hunger in the same country where our president posits that we are a net exporter of what?
Food.
When we said we were a net exporter of electricity, what was the rebuttal at the time? But that was factually correct.
Anyway, this release I have here by a 30% increase in transport fares by private commercial transport operators with immediate effect tomorrow, 18 February 2022. We, the members of the private commercial transport operators, wish to inform the community public of 30% increase in transport fares with immediate effect. Members are therefore directed to implement the increase from tomorrow, 18 February 2022, without further delay. This has become necessary to save our transport business from collapsing with a frequent upward adjustment in fuel prices. A gallon of fuel, which used to sell at pump for 27 cedis, has now jumped to almost 36 cedis per gallon. As the public may be aware, government and the coalition of private commercial transport operators are still engaged in marathon negotiation to increase in transport for transport fares. While we, the operators, are calling for the 30% increase in transport fares, government has put on the table 10%. As a result, the negotiation ended inconclusively and is expected to continue tomorrow, the 18th of February 2022. Sadly, before the scheduled meeting with government could take place, fuel prices have been increased by about 30%, at 30 pesos per litre. Now, a litre of fuel at some of the major filling stations are being sold for 7.990. We wish to entreat our valued customers to bear with us as we need to save our businesses, sustain it, and keep providing you with our critical services. Thank you. Charles Danso is chairman. Also, Pa Willie is chairman of the National Concerned Drivers Association. David Agboado is PRO, and Yao Berima is PRO, True Drivers Union. So the drivers are not happy. Yesterday, I'll share personal testimony. So my cousin and I went to buy fuel. It was 7,550. As soon as we finished buying the fuel, we got to the exit of the fuel station. We checked, and it was 7,990. If we had 2 minutes, it would have caught us. That's my reality from yesterday. I was saved by the bell.
That's the reality of all of us, because we all do use fuel. So this morning I had to buy fuel, and my car usually takes about 200, 250 for a full tank. This morning I have to pay almost 300. So I totally agree that it is not a pleasant experience, and that's the beauty of deregulation, when the markets are allowed to price themselves. So it's a challenge we are all going through, and it's a worldwide thing. The world markets are increasing, and from what I hear, I hear it's going to go up for quite some time. Now, we do have, as much as the world prices are increasing, as a country, we also do have our policies on fuel.
Right. We have your taxes as well.
I don't want to even get into that.
And then you have your exchange rate.
We don't have to. I don't want to get into that conversation.
But those are the price. Those are the components that make up.
Let's
the
talk
price
about the letter you have just read, because that is the immediate thing.
Right.
The drivers are telling us that they still have a conversation. They are still having a conversation with government on the increases. So, whatever be the case, there will be an increase. Government is proposing 10%. They want 30%. And from the letter you just read, I don't think they've come to any.
Well, they say even before they could conclude, government goes ahead to increase the price of fuel.
It's not government that is increasing the price
But
of fuel. It's a deregulation policy that we all have, and we have agreed to have. So the prices come and they change as and when the windows open.
But then that's why I want us to talk about the components. There is a global price, there's a local taxes,
Johnny,
and then there's a weak city before the dollar, the euro, and the
all
pound.
these issues have been talked about over and over and over again. What I believe we should address or talk about right now is the 30% increase that is going to hit the pockets of Ghanaians from tomorrow morning, from what they are trying to say.
Right.
And some of us would like to, plead or ask them to go finish the negotiations with the government, because if they increase it by the 30%, and the negotiation says they should finish or they should stick it below 30%, we are going to have a problem.
Why?
How are you going to decrease it? I don't know if you get my point. If you start collecting 30%, and per your negotiations that they said they are going to have, is it today? And you go and you agree that, okay, so let us do it at maybe 25, let us do it at 20, let us do it. How are you going to decrease it? So
they also make the argument that, look, fuel prices have gone up, rapidly in a short while. They have not increased their prices. So
as I said, whatever be the case, there's going to be an increase, because the fuel prices are going up. So there's no way you can ask them to keep their fares at the same level. It will go up no matter what, because government is also agreeing that they need to increase. My issue now is I plead with them to finish the meetings or with the negotiation bit with the government, so that we get a standardized fares, whether it is 15%, 20%, 30%, let's all agree. Because if you go increasing it by tomorrow and you go for your negotiation, that means then practically the negotiations are over. It's done. Well, otherwise, if they still want to go back to the negotiation
their basis is that I'm in a meeting with you. We have not finished the meeting. You have gone ahead to increase fuel prices.
And my issue too is we all know how fuel prices have been increasing in the last few years in this country. Today they are going for the meeting. Let them go, let them finish.
Where
and then they can then go ahead with their pricing. But if you go do it right now, practically we are throwing out the meetings that they are having.
Where are the proceeds from the price stabilization recovery levy? Because that's supposed to, when global prices go up, we get money here to cushion our people. When they drop, we collect more taxes to store for the rainy day. Now we have the rainy day. Where's the cushion?
Government has been cushioning us since this whole COVID issue came up. If you remember,
you use price stabilization levy
during
for COVID purposes.
During the COVID time, fuel prices were practically at dropped.
Because global prices are dropped.
Because that's what I'm trying to say. During the time that COVID was in, fuel prices dropped. Then when, of course, COVID is still there, but when global markets started opening up, the prices started soaring up. And there was this sharp rise all of a sudden. So I believe that all these taxes, and then remember, some of the taxes were taken off along the line. Some 20% was taken off there, some 10% was taken off there. These are all things that still hit the government and the taxes. So if you're asking me what have been done with
I'm asking you where the cushion is. Because the Ghanaians say they can't feel the cushion.
What has been done with those monies? Just this price, wasn't it just about 2-3 weeks ago that NPA brought it back?
Right.
Prior to that, it had been off. So
for 2 months?
Yes.
Only.
And
November and December.
And for 2 months, the volumes that you lose in terms of taxes, it's nothing, it's not funny. It's tough. So for me, I believe that we should still stick
even within
with
the 2 months that it was supposed to be off, fuel prices still went up.
As for the fuel prices, so far as we are getting the global fuel prices going up, our fuel prices will go up. We have to now look at what we can do about it. And what we can do about it is the taxes that are on it, how to manage the taxes, when to take what off, when to bring what on. Those are the management issues that we can do.
But your CD is weak.
But tomorrow, that the drivers want to increase the prices by 30%. That is what I am asking and pleading, that if they could finish their negotiations with the government, then we have a stabilized or the same thing
collapse
within today.
They want to save
today
their
by
businesses.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
If they don't increase it by tomorrow, their businesses will collapse.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Let them finish. I'll plead with them to finish the meetings, and then we can move on from there. So the people who wrote this letter, please have a bit of patience. Go for your meetings. I'm sure by this evening you would bring us what you have all agreed on, and then we can move on from there.
Hey, Joyce, fuel prices have gone up again. Drivers are threatening to increase their prices. They want to save their businesses. Have you heard the argument? I'm asking where the cushion is. Do you know where the cushion is?
Well, I'm sure the cushion is on President Akufo-Addo's laps, and he's probably flying in a very luxurious jet with that cushion and telling us to tighten our belts and face all the hardships whilst he enjoys life and travels very comfortably wherever it is he's going to. And of course, for all the meetings he's been engaged in so far, you can see they've largely been lamentations and attempts to try and find some money. Look, the same conversations we've been having all this while. If government will stop the waste, if government will reduce corruption, if government will stop spending on all the unnecessary things that they are currently spending on, I have no doubt in my mind that the dollar would actually stabilize, and then the cedi would not be under so much pressure. All that is driving this is our rate of inflation. You don't even have to be an economist or a finance person to know this. It is a very straightforward subject matter. The cedi is actually on 7-point-something% as we speak.
Right.
It would affect everything else because you are importing crude and you need the foreign exchange. You are importing consumable items and you need foreign exchange. So what is the situation now? We have so many cedis chasing just a few dollars. It's a very simple economic curve. And for as long as this trend continues, there is nothing that can stop the downward trend. I think President Akufo-Addo and his economic management team should actually sit up. They ought to start thinking outside the box. Those vehicles that the Transport Association or Drivers Association are talking about are their personal property.
Right.
They pay insurance that has gone up. They pay for DVLA cover that has gone up. They pay to maintain and service the vehicles. Go to Abosioka and find out the cost of parts for maintaining most of these vehicles. Why would I not? What complaint can I possibly have? Government increased its services and fees by how much? 50%. That is government. That government should actually be empathizing with us at this time when there's so much hardship. What do you expect private people to do? Because government is not giving them money to run their businesses.
Amma says 30% is way
that is
the high side.
That is their latitude. That's their bottom line. And as I said, I am a lawyer. When you go for negotiations, you get some, you lose some. I don't know what the negotiations are currently going on with them. I don't know what their final whatever is. But yes, this is where they are starting from. It now behoves on government and whoever is negotiating on behalf of government to have this come. But look, even if they go up by 10%, it will trickle down to everything else.
They seem to suggest that there's been some bad faith, that we are in a negotiation, we have not finished, government increases fuel prices.
I used to think that the NDC was to blame for just about everything. That even if there were genuine taxes that were required to be collected, that is because the NDC was actually swallowing these taxes. Look, I remember all the conversations that President Akufo-Addo, and he used to tell us all the time that he was already a self-made man, and so he was coming to come and protect the public purse. I believe that right now, even the public purse, nobody knows what he looks like. I watched the town hall meeting in the Savannah region. I was so sad.
Why?
Why not? That we have the finance minister who people touted as the best for the job. That 6.9 billion for the e-levy is actually half of what the Auditor General says has been stolen.
Okay, Joyce, thank you very much indeed. This is from the Ghana Airports Company Limited. It's an appointment of Managing Director following emergency meeting of the GACL board held on Wednesday, February 16, 2022. Mr. Yao Kwakwa submitted his resignation as the Managing Director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. Effective close of day, February 17, 2022. The GACL board has subsequently appointed Madam Pamela Jamson-Tete as the new Managing Director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, effective February 18, 2022. That's tomorrow. She has over 25 years of proven track record in senior management, including 9 years in the mining industry, 9 years in the manufacturing sector, and 5 years in the power sector. Well networked and with a confident approach and integrity, she is strategically astute, possesses a strong ability to build sustainable relationships with excellent interpersonal communication and language skills. Pamela has excellent analytical skills with strong bias for political science, government relations, community relations, environment, and international relations and diplomatic protocols. From 2021 to 2001 to 2009, Pamela was the executive director and director of the corporate relations at Diageo Ghana, that's Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited, as member of the board of directors of GBL and on and on and on. Plenty of things that have been written is issued by the GACL board. So congratulations to Mrs. Jamson-Tete, and also a few messages here quickly before we go. We check out of here. Kwame Ochedaku says in excess of 48% of the pump price and taxes. There is a component called the debt recovery levy. The function of this component has long expired, but we still collect them. These are components that are supposed to cushion times like this. He's complaining about the fuel, like we all will complain about the fuel. Opemu Woyome, MPPS, Amasaman Communication says, anything that brings a sudden change in the lives of mankind is expected to receive some resistance, especially if it means one making financial commitments. I do acknowledge that the current prevailing economic situation in the country isn't as we all expect, but realistically speaking, do we still prefer the option of loans to mobilizing revenue internally? How do we fund the several infrastructural development we wish to see in this global COVID economy? I think we should all open up a genuine national conversation on economic development, sustainability, and national building, and all of that. Well, John Dia says Johnny, Ambassador Sampiale, says, Johnny, may I know which act of parliament established the Kofi Juice factory? How much money did the state invest in that company? How many Ghanaians have been employed? What is the rate of the returns on the employment? Well, a few of your messages, we'll read them after